It's John Bowden in our chat with one of my favorite drummers of all time, Simon Phillips, who replaced Jeff Porcaro in Toto in 1992 after Jeff's untimely death. He was with the band until 2008. Then there was another stint between 2010 and 14. I first really paid attention to Simon when I heard him play drums on Mike Rutherford of Genesis, his first solo album, which was called Small Creeps Day, which to this day is one of my top 3 albums of all time. I like that record more than I like any Genesis album, and I'm a Genesis freak, but that one just resonated with me. We're going to have another clip in a few days of Simon talking about playing on Small Creeps Day. I've actually interviewed everyone on that album except Mike Rutherford. Long story. We're not going to go through all the people that Simon has played for, and it's everybody. But in this clip, we're going to talk about Toto, how he joined the band, why he left the band, all things Toto on Rock History Music. Enjoy. Well, 21 years later, why did you leave? Did you need to do your own stuff? Your own, because all of a sudden you produce all this great protocol stuff. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Well, by 2007, 2008, we were in trouble on a personal level, and Mike had contracted ALS. He was no longer with us. Paige was no longer with us. This was not the band I joined. From Luke's point of view, and I totally understand it, he's looking around the stage. I don't recognize these people. This is not the band I formed with, or joined, actually.
I remember the press release he released. I remember that long note he released after that tour.
Yeah. And we were not, well, basically Luke and I, by then, were running the band. But we were disagreeing on many areas, as you do when you've been in the band. It's more not about the music, it's about the politics and about the business, and we were just not agreeing on it. We were working much too much for me. I wanted to do I had production to do, recordings to do, and all the traveling was really tough on me at that time. So I was just, so he decided I want to leave the band. I mean, that's what he did. But we basically had a break, and I knew it wasn't over. But when it got back together, it didn't feel right at all. And the whole dynamics of the band had changed, and I just felt this is not the band I'm in anymore. So I did it. We did it for a couple of years. I said, that's fine if we go out for 3 weeks here, 3 weeks there. But then it started getting longer and longer, and I went. And I just felt it's run its course. Yeah. And I think, Luke and I kind of parted ways, really. So I just felt that was it.
You don't talk to them anymore, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Luke and I chat. Okay. Yeah. We get on fine. And, when he released his book, I was on tour in Europe. I was touring with Bill Evans. We did our project, and I downloaded the book and I was reading it in the front seat of the van as we're traveling, and texting Luke after reading certain paragraphs, and it was really cool, I mean, I thought there would be I'd get a lot more flack than he did. So I think, we've always loved each other. We've always had a great respect for each other. Unfortunately, this is what bands do once you get over 40, Yeah. But fine now. I mean, we get on great, and maybe down the line we'll do something. I don't know. But at least we can talk to each other. Paige, we get on great. There's never a problem with Paige. But if you think about it, I mean, Joseph Williams, obviously, I wasn't in the band when he joined. I just worked on his record, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Because Joe through Shem, I haven't talked to Joe. I've always wanted to talk to Joe. He's one of my favorite vocalists. But through Shem von Schreck, I said, Shem, can you talk to Joe? I got to talk to Joe. And he says, well, he's doing an album right now. So do you know the timeline for that album?
No.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, go on. Sorry. So you just worked on it?
Yeah, I just played a track about a month ago. Yeah. Beautiful track. Yeah. Great. He's writing some great music. So I think he wrote that with David Page. So no, we get on fine. It's great. But if you think about it, it's really only Luke and Page of the band that I joined.
Yeah.
So, but no, we get on fine.
With that first rehearsal, what did that feel like? Was it surreal?
Um,
Was it weird?
Not for me, but for them, very. For me, not so much. I had a job of work to do.
Yeah.
Purely, and every time that scenario has happened, like the Who or whatever, when you step in for someone else, you're being paid to do your job. So be professional, do your job. You can't just do your best, play the music as best as you can. I've always approached it like that. So we get to rehearsal. We met up for dinner the night before, and I could tell that was very, very difficult. Luke was the catalyst. He's the guy going, "Come on, guys, we're going to make this work." And Paige was just hollow-eyed. He couldn't believe it. He was really struggling, and Mike struggling, but Mike was always, he's doing his best to. We've got to make this work. Very difficult for all of them. So we went to dinner and we chatted, and I mean, frankly, I didn't really have a lot to say. I mean, it was a very awkward scenario. Mm-hmm. I just felt awkward in it, But anyway, next day we turn up for rehearsal. My kit set up, my roadie's there. I tuned the drum kit, sort out the technical stuff. Then by the time we've done all that, and weird too, because the whole road crew, they worked with Jeff for years. Now they've got this new drummer who, has a very distinctive setup, style, and opinion too, and demands. I need this, blah, 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 and probably not what they're used to at all. And so, a little bit difficult. But then everybody turns up and Luke said, right, what do you want to play? And I had all my, charts I'd written out on the plane. I said, Hydra. Hydra was one of my favorite songs. And he went, oh, okay, you want a nice, easy one to start with, huh? We haven't played that for years. And he said, okay, let's go. And off we go. We played it, and it went really well. We stopped, and Luke's standing there, and he says to Paige and Mike, he said, I think this is going to work. And then 21 years later.
Okay, I got to ask you some Toto questions. How did that happen? I mean, I know you've told the story a million times, but I don't have a copy of that because I can't use theirs. I always tell artists that because I hate asking questions that I know you've been asked 1,000 times. But how did that all come about?
It was literally out of the blue. Literally. I was actually in Ibiza doing a TV show for a guy called Frank Farian, who was the producer of Milli Vanilli and Boney M. And I met Frank because when Mike Oldfield and I mixed Discovery, which was 1984, Mike was doing his tax year out of England, so he had to find a studio somewhere that had a console that he had, which was a Neve 8108. We found a couple, and one of them was Frank Farian's studio just outside of Frankfurt in Bad Homburg. So that's how I met Frank. So he met me as an engineer, not a drummer. But obviously realized I was who we were and who Mike was. Well, he knew who Mike was. And he obviously realized I was a drummer. And then he started booking me for sessions. So I'd fly over to Germany and play with him. It was called the Fire Corporation, and Bobby Kimball was part of that record as well. I think even Luke, part of Toto, played on the record too. So fast forward to 92, I'm doing this TV show, and Bobby Kimball is also there, and we're staying in this beautiful place out in it's all country, I guess, somewhere in Ibiza. One telephone in a booth right outside the reception. It was very country, And I was walking down for breakfast, and I saw Bobby, and he was on the phone, and he saw me and turned around and went, like this, and said, "You're not going to believe this. Jeff Porcaro just died." I went, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm finding out about it now." I said, "Oh no." So that was the first thing I heard. 1 week later, I was in my house in Suffolk in England. My battery's going. Okay. Gonna have to move inside.
Okay.
And then I got a call at about midnight my time in England from Lukather, who was in a meeting. Obviously, they're 8 hours behind. They were in a meeting at Fitzgerald Hartley, which was their management company up in Ventura. And he said, oh, there we go. He said, I said, hey, Luke, and I knew him, but not very well, but I knew him. And I said, hey, Luke, I said, and I just thought he was calling me to maybe tell me about Jeff or maybe talk about him or just, want just a friendly call. And he said, look, I'll come straight to the point. Will you come and play with us? I went, huh? Really? He said, yeah, we've got a 42-day tour booked, world tour promoting our new album. We've got 40 people on the payroll. We're here trying to make a decision about whether we should do this tour. If you'll join us, we'll do the tour. And I went, wow, how soon is this going to happen? He said, as soon as you can make it. We got to rehearse. We've never rehearsed with anybody else before in the drum chair.
Yeah. And
I went, okay. So, well, look, I need some time to think about this. He said, well, don't take too long, please. And I went, okay. So I put down the phone and was like, Toto? Me? Wow. That's... So I think I'd asked him, well, you send the album. Let me hear the new album and stuff. So they shipped that over. In those days, of course, we didn't have internet like we do now. I'm not sure if we even had it. We had computers, but so they put it in FedEx, I think, overnight, which just means 4 days to get to England. And I started to look at. I was just about to start a record the very next day in London with a band called the Big Country, or Big Country.
Yeah.
Buffalo Skinners was the name of the record. And I had a load of stuff booked, and I started ringing people. I just said, look, I know that I'm booked to do your record on September whatever it is, but I've just been asked by Toto to play with them for their world tour. I'm going to have to cancel. Is that okay? And everybody's reaction was incredibly favorable. I think there was one person who was a little put out. I think it was to do with Amsterdam, so it might have been a Dutch thing I was doing. But basically everybody said, totally understand, huge fan of Toto, so sad about Jeff.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem. So by the time a few days went by and I called Luke back, I was, kind of clear my diary, as it was. One of those people was Jack Bruce too.
Wow.
Because I had just started playing with Jack again. We were doing some live concerts. He'd recorded in my studio. I had a studio at my house, and he lived fairly locally. And so that's how that happened. I heard the new album. I understood why they would ask me, because it was a lot more rocky.
Yeah. The
album, Kingdom of Desire, it was much more. It was a 4-piece band then with backing singers and percussionist. And I went, oh, okay, I see. And then that was it. And I actually left England that day that I flew to Los Angeles, which I've been planning for about a year anyway.
Okay, two fan questions. Two fan questions. What was your favorite time in Toto? What was the favorite moment in Toto or album or whatever? And what do you have coming up?
Favorite time in Toto? Wow.
I didn't want this interview to just be about Toto because I got inundated with Toto questions. And and your career is much more than one band. And as much as I love Toto,
yeah. I think the time where I really felt a very valued part of Toto was when they asked me to record their album in 2005, Falling in Between. They wanted me to engineer the album. We did it in my studio, and we all co-wrote the music. Now, that was incredibly stressful because I was playing on it as well. So whilst the band were working stuff out, I was getting sound and then walking in and then listening and then, making some notes and then maybe playing a little bit and then going out, changing the sound of something. Dave said, "Oh, I want to play organ," right? Mic up the organ, So I was going in and out between the control room. I barely had a chance to learn the song. Isn't that amazing? I remember bits that I'd been part of in the song when I was there, but then, so suddenly it was like, right, let's roll. And I had an assistant who was rolling, starting and stopping Pro Tools and recording. And I would go in and I'd maybe change a snare drum over, do a bit of tuning. And I said, right, let's do a track. And you ready? We got a click going, and then I'd count it in, and we'd play a take, and I'd say, right. And it was great. They let me basically run those sessions from a production point of view when it was tracking. We were all involved in the writing. They were all involved in afterwards. But when we were actually laying, it was like, okay, Si, you guide us on this. So we'd put a rough one down. I say, right, let's go listen straight away. Let's not play anymore. Let's look at the arrangement. And we'd listen, and then I'd do a whole bunch of editing, whether that be an idea I had or an idea that David or Luke, and I'd say, guys, listen to this. And I'd do like a chop, literal chop here, this, and they go, oh, yeah, it's cool. But I missed that bit. Can we get that bit? And I did this kind of what I call a Franken track. And then we had all the composition there. It was the arrangement, And so once we did that, it was like, now we have to relearn the song. Literally we're writing parts down of our own song. This is how I remember it anyway. Probably not on every song, and then we'd go out and we do a few takes, and I go, one more. And Luke would go, no, I think that's it. I said, let's do one more, Luke. Okay. And it was great. That was an amazing time that a band that's had so much success have worked with the greatest engineers on the planet, and yet they entrusted that chair to me, for that time. And it was tough because, you got 4 producers in the room.
Well, you might not like multitasking, but you can do it.
Yeah, stressful. I mean, I do it with my own stuff anyway, and with most productions that I do. But when you've got, the room with, 2 extremely strong characters, and only see things maybe their way until you manage to convince them there's another way. It was tough, but it was successful. It worked great.
Love that record.
And look, David kept saying to me, he said, I want you to mix this record. He says, you have that English sound that you get, and I love that, and I want you to mix it. And I went, not a hope in hell, David. I am not going to mix this record. First of all, I'm too involved as the artist, as a player, composer, and I engineered it. No, get someone else to do it. And because I knew what a can of worms it would be opening, and I'd end up in hospital, What a straight jacket. Yeah. So we entrusted that to Steve McMillan, who I absolutely admire. I mean, I was at most of the mix sessions just because, I wanted to be, and he liked it. I didn't go to everyone. I let him do, because as an engineer, when you mix, you don't want somebody breathing over your shoulder all the time. But once you got into it, then it's easier to have someone there, I remember Luke, when I mixed the first thing for Toto, we were doing Live in Amsterdam, the video, and I was mixing the surround. And first day of mixing, he comes around, sits in a chair behind, right, and of course I've basically set up the matrix for it, but we're listening to bass drum for like 20 minutes, and then snare drum. He said, aren't you done yet? I said, no, look, this is going to take a long time. Remember, the drums will take the longest because they're the most channels. And he said, right, I'll see you in a few days. And he split. That was so funny. I mean, he should know, I think maybe, it was the first time I'd mixed something for him, although he'd heard my mixes with other projects which he was involved in. So I think that was probably the highlight of being accepted and as an engineer and a producer. That was pretty cool.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching our videos. The holidays are coming up and it's busy time for everyone, but you know what? Keep watching our videos, because if you don't, this is how we make a living. I always tell myself I should remind the audience, hey, we've got thousands of interviews on our channel. Look back, check them out. If you watch this, you either like or Simon Phillips or Toto. We've interviewed everyone practically in Toto. And I need to do some homework. YouTube's been very unstable lately. If you want to give us a donation, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. You can buy a t-shirt with Rock History music on it, or a hat or a coat. The links are there as well. And join our Patreon. You'll get early access to our videos. Make sure you subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss any of our videos. Comment on the videos, like them, and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself.